Hello, YouTube. My name is Alan, and it's that time once again. Let's talk metal. This video is just going to be kind of a relatively short one, but I think it'll also be kind of a fun topic. I've got pulled up here on the screen for everybody to see Ye Old Metal Archives Encyclopedia Metallium, also lovingly referred to as the Mothership by some headbangers such as myself. Um, we all use this website as a resource. We love it. Sometimes it drives us a bit crazy for some of the things that are omitted or things like that. But the bottom line is that it's been an integral part of the heavy metal community for a couple of decades now. And we use it for all sorts of different things. Something I'm using it for, of course, all the time is just, checking up on bands I'm not familiar with. And, when you type in band names to try to get some information about the discography, lineup, or whatever, sometimes you run into funny information. For example, if we type in Venom, we're expecting, of course, maybe there's a couple of Venoms out there, a few. Well, it turns out there's really only two, but they are both from the United Kingdom, and they are both cited as new wave of British heavy metal bands. So, which Venom is it that you're wanting to click on? Well, you've got to figure that, yeah, it's probably the one labeled speed and black metal. That's going to be the Venom most of us would be interested in reading up on. But what the heck's with his other Venom? Well, let's take a look and see. There's only one other band that's used the name Venom, registered on Metal Archives, and it turns out they changed their name pretty early on to Rocks. So under the name Venom, they only did one demo back in 81. But it's kind of wild to think that there were actually two Venoms tromping around in the UK during sort of, the early prime new wave of British heavy metal years. Yeah, and from the look of this particular Venom, I have a feeling the name is where the similarities ended. I don't think I know much about this particular Rocks. Looks like they did, yeah, okay, a little bit of stuff there, and then came back and did some more. A full length in 83. I don't, yeah, okay, I do not know that album, and doesn't look like one I'm going to rush out to investigate anytime soon. So yeah, you run into some funny things like this sometimes. Something that is always kind of goofy and a bit annoying, though, is when you type in a band name, you're trying to figure out something about them, and there's like this laundry list of bands that all have the exact same name. And it's like, oh, come on. I'm trying to do this quickly. What do you mean I have to now stop and figure out, well, what country are they from, or what style are you going to list them as? And this, of course, can happen with some names more than others. Some band names are extremely unique. You're not really going to run into a second corrosion of conformity, just as a random example. Other names are much more common, and you might end up having to click several band names to find the exact one you like. So that's what we're going to do here. I'm just going to type in a few names, and we're going to see how many hits we get in an attempt to locate, the most overused name in heavy metal. Uh, Again, I stumbled into one recently that really surprised me, so we'll get to that one in a few minutes. Let's start with something kind of innocuous. What about the name Death? Now, of course, we all know which band this should refer to, but that's also a very kind of simple name that, in theory, a lot of bands could have latched onto. So let's see, are there a lot of deaths out there? Amazingly, no, there's not. There's only one band by the name Death. And I think this is kind of a good example of something where if a band got that name kind of established in the underground early on and went on pretty quickly to make a name for themselves, well, every other band kind of knew not to name themselves Death because you would always be confused with this Death. So, yeah, even though this is a really simple name that you would think a lot of bands might have flocked to, didn't happen. Chuck got this one, pretty much trademarked, copyrighted, but also disseminated out throughout the heavy metal universe early enough and in enough people's brains that nobody else ever bothered naming their band Death, at least as far as Metal Archives knows. All right, let's try another one. What about Killer? I know I have run into a few different killers over the years of heavy metal record hunting. Interestingly, again, there's only four, however, that are listed on Metal Archives. Sure, there's lots of others down here that use the word killer, but that's not what we're talking about. Just for bands named Killer. There's one from Belgium, yep. One from Canada, yep. One from Switzerland that you see LPs by, and one from the new wave of British heavy metal in the UK. So this one kind of surprises me. I would have thought this was a name that had been much more common. But again, a lot of these bands are relatively early. The UK band, let's see, this one is, yeah, doing stuff, like in 81 or so. They only did the one demo. At least another band or two went by Killer early on. But again, I think they sort of ran afoul of these other bands. Here you've got, the Swiss Killer. And yep, you might recognize this logo. These albums showed up, and again, they were on the scene pretty early there in the early 1980s. Not that they became, the same kind of household name that Death or Venom did, but nevertheless. Now here's a newer band named Killer. There's just no excuse for that. You really think if you're starting your band in 2014, Killer's going to be a unique handle that no one picked before you? Not likely. Not likely. And even this Belgian band, again, all these bands gravitated towards the name Killer around 1981. I do have to wonder if a little bit of that is because of the Iron Maiden album of the same name, essentially. Did the Killers album inspire some of these bands to try to adopt that moniker all right there in the same time frame? Maybe, maybe not. We saw some of these bands may have been active even before Killers came out. But yeah, bottom line, only four killers that you have to choose from. And in this case, they're all from different countries, so makes it a little easier to tell them apart. All right, we've been on easy mode so far. Let's go to something a little more advanced. This is a name that I know has given me headaches in the past. Invader. Yeah, as you're seeing here, you got a lot more invaders to choose from if you're looking up something on an invader. Let's see. It looks like there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, there's at least 15 invaders listed here on Metal Archives. And now you're getting into a situation again where there's multiples listed from the same country. In Germany, there's a melodic death one, a speed one, and a heavy speed one. So you may have to click a couple of times to find the one that you really want. You've got bands from multiple other countries, two from Sweden with the name Invader. There's three from the United States, and actually, I am pretty sure there is at least one more because let's see. Yeah, I know an Invader from back in the 80s from New York. It is not this band. It certainly wasn't this one. They were not thrash. And I've checked this one before. Nope, it's not that one either. The closest one would have been this heavy metal, just traditional. But this is not the same Invader. You can see I've clicked on it before. Wasn't it? So there's at least a 16th Invader out there as well. And I guess that helps make a good point that Metal Archives, when we're looking at these numbers, it's just going to be the minimum number of bands that have used a particular name. There may be others that just aren't registered on Metal Archives for whatever reason. The one I am thinking of from New York, the New York Invader, they only made like one 7-inch record. So yeah, they just has never gotten added to the site here. Now that I've said it, maybe somebody will dig up that info. I'm guessing it's on Discogs, so I haven't even looked there for that particular Invader. May not even be there. It's a pretty obscure single. But yeah, 15 Invaders. So now we're getting into names that have gotten used a lot. Again, simple name. It sounds kind of metal. Again, it also has, an Iron Maiden root with the song Invaders. But this one has definitely been used way too much. If you're starting a new band, don't call it Invader. You're lost in a crowd of invaders themselves. It's already hard enough to make a name for yourself in a very, very saturated and well-populated heavy metal underground scene as it is. This is probably too why we see bands more and more often pick very obtuse and sometimes just very weird names more and more often, kind of in hopes of standing out and not being confused with 14 other bands that had the same name at some point. Right, but if we think Invader is bad, I have a feeling the next one's going to be much worse. What about the name Tyrant? There are multiple tyrants you can probably think of off the top of your head. And same for me. There's a well-known new wave of British heavy metal band. There's the California band that was on Metal Blade Records. There's a few others, and let's see how this goes. We've got two, four, six, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 there with the black metal band. Okay, we're way past Invader territory here. That one was 15, 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Yeah, you've got 25 different bands have called themselves Tyrant that have gotten listed on Metal Archives. Uh, 3 from the United States, a lot from the UK. One, two, three, four. 4 UK bands. One, two, three, four. Oh, no, 5, 6. More than that from the US. One, two, three, four, 5, 6 US bands. Again, it's kind of a simple metal sounding name. Gotta wonder if this one's got a lot of, Judas Priest roots to it. Did bands kind of latch onto their favorite Judas Priest song and keep using the name? Unaware that, yeah, bands around the world were doing the exact same thing. So yeah, we're looking at, what did I say, 24, 25 different tyrants. We are getting up there in the count now for sure for most overused band names in heavy metal. But I've got one that's going to blow Tyrant out of the water. And this is a funny one because I had never typed this name in to Metal Archives until maybe 1 or 2 weeks ago. And I was listening to a compilation album that's just come out. Song came on. It's like, damn, that's really good. Who's that? I looked at the band name. It's like, never heard of them, but this is great. Okay, I wonder if they did, an album or a demo or anything. So I typed the name in, and it took a while to figure out which one I was looking for. And I was amazed because I have never heard of any of these bands before. The band name, Legion. Once again, simple, metal-ish sounding. Could have, some maybe, I don't know, deicide roots or something there. What happens to Legion? Let's count. We have 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 on the screen there at the death metal band. Then another, this one, 16, 17, 19, 21, 23, 25. Well, we're now leaving Tyrant territory. 27, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35 with this one in Thrash. Oh, good Lord, they just keep going. 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 45. I think we have 45 different bands that have used the name Legion. And yes, technically a couple of them over here put some kind of little umlaut over the O. Your name is still Legion. That doesn't really help differentiate you from the other 44 bands listed here. Yeah, this blew me away that you had almost 4 dozen bands all have used the name Legion. And again, what also kind of shocked me was that I had never encountered a single one of them that I can remember until 2 weeks ago with a random new track on a compilation album that just came out. I doubt I can even find. Was this the one I wanted? Let's see. It was a US band. The one I was looking for was a US band that played more traditional heavy metal. I think it's this one that says heavy power metal. Yes, this was thankfully they had mentioned that on the compilation notes it said they were from Atlanta or from the Georgia area. So this one I was able to figure out, okay, yeah, that's the band I'm looking for. But yeah, 45 bands named Legion, 44 of which I know nothing about, and one that I only discovered in the past couple of weeks. So I am going to propose that Legion is the most overused name in heavy metal history. But this is where you get a chance to absolutely prove me wrong. let's wrap up this video and head to the comments down below. Can you find a band name on Metal Archives that has more than 45 bands with that name? And again, we're not considering bands that use Legion as part of its name. If we go further down, we're going to find plenty of those too. No, that's not what we're looking for. Identical name, yes, if it's got like just an umlaut or something like that. Okay, fair, those count. But yeah, can anybody come up with a band name in the mothership here that has more than 45 entries? So, in other words, is Legion really the most overused heavy metal band name of all time? Or is there something we can type in up here to the search field that will yield at least 46 or more hits? We're almost to 50 at this point. I'm really curious to know if someone can come up with a name that will yield 50 different hits. Um, if you can, by all means, leave a comment down below. And let's not just propose names. I'm not going to type in everyone's name for them. You use heavy metal archives just like I do. If you think you've got a good name that might have a ton of hits, type it in, see how many there are. And hey, even if it comes up a little short, leave a comment below if you're like, hey, I typed in this name, I got 37 hits. That would still be kind of, cool to see what some of the other most overused band names are within heavy metal realms. And yeah, if we can find one with more than 45, then Legion will be knocked down a peg, and there will be some other name that has been the most overused. Another thing for the comments, do you know any of these bands named Legion? Yeah, some of them may be well known and just in scenes or styles that I'm not as familiar with. So yeah, if you know something about some of these legions, feel free to leave a quick description down below. Be like, oh yeah, this one from Chile is really good, or I know, yeah, the third one from the UK is the one that you want to check out sometime. Not the first two, but the third one. So yeah, let's see if there's any Legion fans out there, because it's definitely a band name that's, well, extremely common. I just have never encountered any of these bands before. All right, so that is your challenge for this video. Tell folks about some of these legions and see if you can find a name that's even more common in the metal archives. Hope you have fun digging around. Very interested to see what kind of things folks will come up with. But for now, that is going to do it. So until next time, everyone take care. And as always, keep banging your head.